Hi there, I'm George Anderson. I'm here to help you learn how to make a honeysuckle bench. So there could be foul in one. I want you two to get along, okay? Can you two just get along, please? Started doing this because it's a good way to use an invasive species and make something useful for everybody. These instructions for this bench are probably for the intermediate to possibly advanced woodworker. So you'll need to have some basic skills. First off, don't touch this. Also, you'll need, I believe, a bandsaw with an appropriate blade for cutting wet wood. That is a tougher 3 tooth per inch with a wider kerf. And then now they're basic things, screwdrivers, drills, things of that nature. This is about as small a piece that really becomes viable. This is a little over an inch, almost 2 inches in diameter. And if you're not careful, this can split very easily. As you can see, there's a hole in the center of every piece on the side. So, as you're gathering the wood, you need to sort of curate and see what you're going to be cutting and how you're going to be using it. The larger pieces like this came from a big chunk of honeysuckle. This is great for planks. You can see the diameter of this one was probably 6 to 8 inches. This is an old piece of honeysuckle. This easily could have been 50, 60 years old. It also shows it's a blonde wood. This is unfinished. It's a nice blonde, tight grained hardwood, and the sapwood, I guess you'd call it. The heartwood is often a kind of a light brown with tan streaks in it. And when it varnishes, it can be a very, very colorful, more honey colored and darker. But it's a really hard wood. You can see the cast and so but here's a good example of once the bark falls off, it's a very muscly wood, very muscled, strong, hard wood. It's good when gathering the honeysuckle to pre-visualize the parts you're going to need. In other words, straight pieces that are smaller, like 2 inches or 3 inches, are good for legs. Much larger than that, then they can split. Even forked pieces, we can get this out later, make for good legs. The kind of interesting leg stuff here. And planks need to be big logs, big wide logs that are, this is a big honeysuckle. This is a large honeysuckle, but this would be a really good one for planks and stuff like that for seats. Much smaller, the planks split easily, very easily. First thing I do after I gather the wood is cut into the pieces legs length, shorter, like 18 inches or so for the legs. And then, of course, cutting up the split of the planks. So I start with the end braces first. Once the legs are cut, then using the bandsaw, I cut these flats on the legs so that these braces can go. Once this is the end piece. Okay, this is the front. These are called the braces, the legs, the braces for the seat. These end braces, once they're on, then I will use the bandsaw to cut a flat here for the front and back brace to attach to. I have already previously glued this together, so these are kind of ready to go. And then I'll block it up on the bench using whatever means you can to keep it from falling over. And then you add the side braces to this. And then you flip the whole thing over and put the seat planks on top. So I'll start by doing, and then I've already pre-drilled these holes. Shouldn't be too tough to get this going. Voila. And you can see once working on a flat surface like this, It's a whole lot easier to keep things in line. And now I will flip it right side up like this. Luckily, I found a flat spot on my floor here. Garage to do this. Again, as you can see, I've already previously marked these, where they go, how they go, etc., etc. All these holes here have already been pre-drilled, and it's good to pre-drill with honeysuckle because it splits so easily. Even with this part that's not the hardwood. If I hadn't pre-drilled these holes, there's a higher possibility of the wood splitting with these kinds of screws that are self-tapping. So I always pre-drill. Here's the bit that I use, so it's countersunk. Don't have to make it look just like this. This happens to be the wood I used. And also there's other, we have that together, there's other options for seats, just as an example. Like that. Obviously not on top of this wood here, but I will dry assemble the bench first, marking all the pieces to make sure it all fits. Then I'll take it apart and glue it together in sequence, starting with the end braces first, the bottom part, and then glue on the seats. About the glue, I like to use the West Systems epoxy, which is very, very good, but it's expensive and it takes acetone to clean it up. Type Bond is a very good wood. Type Bond 3 is a very good wood glue for this. It is also waterproof, and it also is a water cleanup, which is really good. Also, with any of the glues, I add a little bit of sawdust to help thicken things up and fill the gaps and stuff like that. The gluing process is really, in my mind, pretty simple. I mix up the glue with a little bit of sawdust in it so that it is a little bit of a gap filler. And then I'll just sort of smear it on. I have a stick that's become popular for putting glue on. So I have, you always want to have what a good woodworker friend of mine called glue gush. It should come out of the joints. It should fill the gaps. Sometimes I will varnish things. If left unvarnished, honeysuckle will turn dark gray or black. And varnishing it is actually a pretty good idea, but the bark really absorbs varnish a lot. It's like I said earlier, like varnishing a sweater, but it's worth it in the very end. I started making these benches maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This is again a case where I realized there's a lot of wood to be gathered, and what should I do with it? And I decided I often go canoeing at the Watershed River, which is down the street from my house. And I noticed a lot of people didn't have a place to sit, and also the abundance of honeysuckle everywhere. So once I found out that it's this very hard, dense wood, that I thought, well, let's give a try making a bench. People need benches to sit on. So I thought it was hand in glove kind of a thing. And so some of them, as you may have noticed, are still existing after they've been out there for quite a while. I used to have a bunch of benches up and down Adena Brook. That's by the Park of Roses, goes past the Park of Roses. I've also had quite a few benches get washed away in floods. So that's another thing that happens. When you put things out in nature, well, either nature does its thing or humans do their thing. Sad but true. And so to wrap this up, have fun with this. Be careful. You're working with, in case if you have a bandsaw, you're working with power tools. But it's fun. If anything, engage with nature as you go out to gather this wood. And the woodworking is not difficult. So take your time, and it's okay. You cannot make any mistakes. Because honeysuckle is not uniform, you get to make it that way. So make it on your own terms. It should be a fun project to do and be proud of what you do when you're finished.
We ask a question.
Hey, Oak, what's up?
So, what is the minimum diameter that you think is acceptable for the legs?
About 2 inches, maybe inch and a half, but 2 inches is about the. Here you go. Can you see that?
Yes.
That's about because that's. I don't have a. Yeah, it's about 2 inches. This is about is because much smaller than that they split, and it's honeysuckle. Now, where you live, Oak, I think you have. Oh, come on! I just looked it up. You
We've got we've got a very invasive species known as tamarack.
Okay.
And it's all along the rivers and it's been taking over. We've been battling it for years. And I wondered whether something like this could be useful out here, but I'm not sure tamarack is going to be big enough to make a useful bench for
Does it
people to
split?
use.
Does it split easily?
I haven't tried, honestly, um, other than trying to force my way through it because it fills up the banks. Um, but a, a tamarack piece that was 2.5 inches round would be a rather large piece of tamarack.
It's just been my experience that the larger the pieces, the easier it is to work. Otherwise, you're building a stick sculpture. Little itty bitty. They you don't. You have to weave them together. That's another. It's another discussion.
We have a question from Jean.
Yeah, yes, I was wondering how long it takes for the bark to fall off, and is it better to use smooth wood in some cases rather than the bark?
That's a great question. The bark falls off if it's greenwood, which is what I cut. It probably takes years for the bark to truly fall off. Sometimes the bark never falls off.
Uh,
And this piece, I think, is a good example. This is probably 2 years old, and the bark that's fuzzy because the cat's been scratching it. Okay, but the bark is still tight, and some fall off quicker than others. That's a lot of why I kind of varnish it in place. Then it has a tendency to stick more. That answers your question.
yeah, so you want to keep with the varnish, it will keep it almost forever, but without the varnish, it possibly could fall off on its own eventually.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
George, do you want to mention the little notes you put on the bottom of the benches these days?
Okay. Some of my benches, as I've mentioned, I think on the thing, I've made quite that number. That was number 68. I'm working on number 70. Of all of those, a number are in people's backyards or wherever, and also a fair number have been stolen. And so doing, then I what she's talking about. I talked to a witch, and I learned how to put a curse on the bench, which means if you steal this bench or if you mess with nature, nature will mess with you. So if you'll get bitten and stung by everything that bites and stings, and you'll develop rashes and swelling to anything that can. On the opposite side of that, I talked to a minister, and I put a blessing on the benches that if you enjoy nature from these benches, nature will love you back. Sort of, whatever. That's a joke. I know, it's kind of a joke.
I have a question about the glue. You said, oh, hold on, my dogs are barking now.
Okay.
You had mentioned, was it tight glue or tight bond?
Tight bond. It is a brand name, Titebond, It is, I forget who makes it. My bottle of it is out in the garage. Otherwise, I'd show you. But it is a water-based glue. It's not an epoxy, and it's not 100% truly waterproof, but it's waterproof enough for these benches. And as you notice, I also still use screws. So it's double, there's the glue and then there's the structure of a screw.
Okay, so if you were to put the steps down numerically, it's find wood,
Yes.
kind of like measure for size,
Yes.
cut legs by like length.
And what you need, how you pre-visualize that bench.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
So then you would cut the legs
Yes.
to length, and then like all sides to length, I guess, and then you kind of use the saw to make them flat. Build without doing anything, just kind of make certain everything looks nice. Pre-drill, glue, then drill.
Well, pre-drill, put it together dry, take it apart, glue it, put it back together again with glue.
Okay, so you pre-drill.
Yeah, you
then
pre-drill
glue.
and no glue, but you just piece the whole thing together.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it works. It's the right size. You haven't made some mistake. As a good friend of mine says, Oak, you'll like this. Oh, Mark Bogenkamp said this all the time, Oak. It's never too late to mess up an otherwise perfectly good job. So be ever so careful. In other words, I'd cut the legs to length first, however long you want them to be. That's up to you. And then of course the braces around them. And then of course the planks on top. And you can pre-drill as much as you can.
Okay.
I would suggest.
So if you don't have a bandsaw with a wet blade, what would be the next level saw, or don't even bother, just rent one from a place?
Yeah, rent one from find one with a bandsaw. I thought about trying to cut these on a table saw. It would be so dangerous.
Okay.
So dangerous. A bandsaw is probably the best solution, especially when you get into large logs. So there may be places around town where you can rent time on it, or you could find out someone who has one and hire them to cut these into planks.
Okay.
I did not mention this, but the hardest part about building these benches is gathering the wood. You got to go out and cut it. In other words, join a flow honeysuckle cutback. And there you can find pieces of wood that you can possibly make benches out of. Then you get to cut it into cut it into pieces. And that's all, what you find is what you can use, I guess. Like I said, I showed before, pieces this size, this is rare. It's a gigantic piece of honeysuckle. If you can find them this size, go for it. And then this is a log. You can see this would be in fact, I cut it. It was actually longer than this. And then the bandsaw gets cut through. This is cutting it on a bandsaw is not, you might have to hire it done or find someone who has a bandsaw. There could be courses at other woodworking places where you can learn how to use a bandsaw.
Okay.
They're not, in my mind, they're not as dangerous as a radial alarm saw, definitely the worst, and a table saw.
Okay.
You can still cut your fingers off.
Yeah, unless you got one of those fancy ones that know it's a finger and stuff.
Well, yeah, get one if you feel, yeah. But meanwhile, I wear gloves. In the video, I wear gloves.
Yeah. Okay.
And you see, I have all of my digits. I'm good here.
Mm-hmm.
But as I quoted before from my good friend, it's never too late to mess up an otherwise perfectly good job.
And you mentioned self-tapping nails?
Yeah, it's I don't have any down here, but they have a little go to the hardware store and ask about it.
Okay, I've never heard of them before. They sound super neato.
Well, and they're deck screws also for building decks. So they have but anyway, go to the hardware store. They'll be happy to show you and give you all the cool junk you use them with it too. All the little bits and shit, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so back to what you said, I apologize, this is Nancy and my camera doesn't work. As far as collecting it, if you're going out with, not without flow, you just take a landscape saw or a hatchet, or how do you go out and get it back? Take
That's a good
sled?
question. That's a good question. I have it's out in the garage. I should have brought it in here. It's a folding saw that is used by arborists and it has good sharp teeth. That's what I use. And as aggressive a saw as you can muster, use it. The blade on mine's about 24 inches long, so it folds down small, so I can carry it easily.
Okay.
And I on occasion, depending where I am, I have an electric chainsaw. It's very quiet, but it's still a chainsaw. The city, I'm sure, would frown upon this, hearing that I might use a chainsaw to cut anything on public property. So that's the next thing. Cutting honeysuckle, it's good for the whole environment, but technically, I think you might need a permit from the city. I don't have one. I'm busted.
Okay, right. Well, they're very busy. They don't have enough people to issue those permits now.
And how do you get it? How do you get it out? Because you must be cutting a lot. Or are you just going out and seeing pieces and bring them? You're not going out to cut everything you need for one bench.
Well, it depends. It sometimes you can go cut just what I need, and I have a little cart I can put it in. And sometimes I go canoeing, and in my canoe I put the wood in my canoe. But when I'm doing that, then I cut down as much as I can because it's an invasive honeysuckle, and I don't I don't have a chipper shredder, but I'll take what I can, and I'll cut it into smaller pieces so it can more easily degrade in the forest floor.
Okay.
Or sometimes I'll put it in the river on a riverbank to prevent the bank from eroding.
Okay.
George,
Thank
how
you.
long
George,
do you let the wood cure for a certain amount of time before you work with it?
I cut it when it's green, and it probably takes 3 to 5 months to really dry, and it can split and crack as it dries, and so that's just what happens, but it stays wet forever. It really does.
So I have a question for you, George. This is Don.
Hey.
It seems apparent that you've mastered the construction of benches with honeysuckle. Have you attempted to build other things with it? Tables, cabinets, anything, or would you recommend using it for any other projects besides benches?
Don, good question. Tables and things like that, you need to have a lot of pieces like this for a tabletop, and they're not square. A table like a side table for a thing that you don't put stuff on, they're not level. It's benches are easy. Tables get really complex with how high. In other words, a side table for like a bench, yeah, sure. A regular table, you don't have pieces big enough. Other than benches, I found the best thing to use it for is backyard fires. It burns like coal once it's dry. It's really good hardwood for your fire pit.
I would imagine it might be useful for something like a trellis.
Oh yeah, sure.
Rustic trellis.
I'm sure you could figure. You just have to be creative. Get a piece, and this is again the curating of it. If you're out there and you're thinking of a trellis, what pieces in nature do you see might be able to be made into a trellis? Don't think squares. Think curves. I think.
So I'll hop in real quick. I will say Flow is having honeysuckle removal in conjunction with Columbus Rexon Park on September 15th at Whetstone Park. And this is an area that we did a few weeks back. It's sort of in between the pond and the bike trail. And the honeysuckle back there is huge. Easily 2-3 inch caliper. There may be some bigger ones too. Now, last time, Columbus Rexon Park brought their chipper and everything went in the chipper. But if somebody wants to collect some of the wood, I'm sure they would let them. So if you're free September 15th, it's, I believe 9 to noon is when we're going to be down there.
I have another question.
Mhm.
Where, yeah, and you might have covered this, but my internet went out for a second. Where did the honeysuckle come from? Where did it invade from?
Ellie, you might know that better than I. I think was it planted as an ornamental or how did it get here? I don't know. It's an invasive.
Oh, Ellie, you're on.
Okay.
Yeah. I know parks used to plant honeysuckle for erosion control.
Ah,
Excuse me for a second.
that's
Uh,
very
orange-
similar to
orange-
what happened with the tamarack out here.
Oh, same thing.
And it took out all the native willows and just ran amok. Now out here, we found that there's a particular beetle back in China where this thing came from that life cycle was dependent on eating this tamarack. And so we try to many methods of controlling it and ended up what's been proving to be fairly effective is bringing in this, it's kind of like a ladybug that loves tamarack. And that has proved to be so far the best method of getting it back. At least for us, the tamarack, when we cut it down, merely makes its roots try harder, if that makes any sense.
The only thing I've found that eats honeysuckle are black ants, and they live in it, and they really don't destroy it. It's incredibly tough and invasive and everywhere. It really is.
Well, this is really cool that you found a good use for it and that other people could. I like the idea that you're going up and down the river putting these benches out.
Well, and
I mean,
also
that is so socially cool.
the thing I really want to have about this meeting, this thing here, is that people are not afraid to try to make their own benches on their own way. Go to a woodworking class, learn a little bit about it so that you can take, it might not be honeysuckle, Bartlett pear, and anywhere you are, and take this stuff that you don't want and turn it into something you do. And I don't have to be the only one doing this. Y'all can do this. Y'all can do this. You can.
Somebody asked when the recording will be available. We'll be getting that out on the Flow website in a few days. And we were asked if you need to register for the honeysuckle event, just show up. Wear sturdy shoes, bring water bottle. Flow will have tools and gloves, anything else you need.
Oh, another thing, Ellie, I didn't tell you about this, but at Arbor Fest is coming up. When is that? September?
August 22nd.
August 22nd. Okay, coming up soon.
Whetstone, yeah.
And at the Flow, whatever, their tent there, I will bring a bench. I will have samples of honeysuckle so that if people want to stop by it at Arbor Fest and check this out, I'll be there for some part of it. Ask more questions, look at stuff, whatever.
Okay, that'll be great. We had a question, where will the honeysuckle removal take place? At Whetstone, I know it's a big area. You have, Dara, is there a site where that's gonna happen?
I'm sorry, for the honeysuckle removal.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just west of the pond at Whetstone. So the pond is
Oh, the
sort of
casting pond, yeah.
yeah. So between the pond and the bike trail.
What's the date and time again?
I'll throw it in the chat, but it's September 15th, 9 to noon.
So a Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Will they have a chipper there?
That's
Right.
still up in the air. The plan is for them to have a chipper again, but it all depends on if that crew is available or not.
Are they going to have a crew there with the herbicide?
No, apparently the plan is that to do that in the fall. So the last time that we did this, they asked everyone to cut the honeysuckle at about knee height so that it's gonna sprout again. But in the fall, the plan is for them to come back. They're gonna cut it close to the ground and then treat it.
Probably the most effective.
I have one more technical question.
Mhm.
So you use glue when you put it together. What would happen if you didn't use the glue, if you just relied on the screws?
Again, another good question. Oh, I could take you out back in my backyard and show you what would happen. It's a bench. It's all woogity and wobbly, and your cat sits on it. I'm not sure I would. The glue really locks it together. The screws, the wood dries out. The wood shrinks. The wood splits, and so the screws kind of hold it together. Yeah, but if without the glue's a bigger surface to really make it stick. And that's the next thing. You make it out of small pieces. Well, that's not a lot of glue surface. You need the screws. And then even just the screws only, you need the glue to back them up. And the tighter the tighter the joint, the better the glue face, the stronger the screws are going to be. And you could also use multiples, like 3 instead of 2, or bolts if you bolt the dang things together. Haven't tried that, but the screws seem to hold. And agreed, the glue, the epoxy is expensive. It's really good, but Tight Bond does a very good job. Very good job. I believe.
Well, I think I'm going to try this maybe with some oak brush.
There
and see
anything
how-
and out there. What was the other thing? Russian. What is it?
The Russian olives.
Yeah, Russian olives. I thought that was another one that's invasive out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
they're pretty mean to try to get into, though.
well, the thing is that whatever one is going to be rot resistant and tough and not split and is easily to work, then use that one. Otherwise, the others they're firewood or whatever. They're just whatever, I guess.
Any other questions?
Anyone have any answers?
If we have honeysuckle that we're not going to use but would be good for your projects, is there a way to contact you if you want more? Or you're like, I have enough, it's cool.
I think I have enough. It's cool.
Okay.
I mean, I thank you very much. I appreciate that. And in fact, if I ever run low on anything, I'm probably going to go to a cutback from Flow. Again, like I said earlier, what I'd like for to do is so other people enjoy this process.
Fair. Okay.
Thank you, though.
So for what I've cut down now, you said it takes 3 to 5 months to dry. So should I don't know this process. I'm a city girl. Do I put it in like a shed, or do I just leave it outside? Like, how do I dry/cure?
That's a good question. One thing to do is out in the sun where it doesn't get rained on. That's a good place to put it.
Oh,
okay. If you can put it in a place where it's in the sun and it's protected from the rain a little bit, or when it rains, bring it in. Otherwise in a shed, out of the rain. You don't want it to get rained on. Don't have it standing in the dirt. This on a side thing here. One time years ago, I built a bench and I put it back out along a stream, and I used green wood. I had spiky feet that stuck into the ground, so the bench was more stable. This wood resprouted. It grew leaves. This is like, this stuff wants to go. So you can, lots of different ways you can approach this. Yeah, you could, anyway.
Okay, that was very helpful. So this is like late fall. If I get started on the wood now, probably winter.
And then let it, if you can lumber it up, in other words, if you get little stuff like this, at 3 to 4 months, it'll be dry enough. You can, but it'll take a while. If you cut up planks like this will still be, once you cut it, it's 3 to 4 months. And this, you can see, I don't know if you can see that, it's splitting.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's just splitting a little bit. That's normal. It's totally normal.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. At a certain point, well, it's scrap wood. You gotta realize that a lot of my benches, I say they're firewood in transition. In other words, they're destined for the fire pit in the end. Unless you varnish them and you really, treat it like furniture. Okay, it'll be fine.
Okay, that was very helpful.
Did I answer your question?
You did.
In a roundabout way.
So
Nope, you got there.
You let the wood dry before you cut it.
Well, I cut mine when it's wet, then let it dry. Especially the big pieces like this. This would take years to dry. I cut it into planks and then let it dry. I think if there's other people smarter than me that run sawmills and know about this, and they're called, you sticker it up, you stack up the wood in places and let it slowly dry. That's kind of what I do. I left this outside my garage. It got daily sun. When it rained, I'd pull it inside. But this is a big log, and this as a log it would still be wet. And I bet if we were to cut into this, it would still be damp feeling. The wood holds moisture forever.
So it doesn't warp as it dries?
Oh, excuse me. We just heard, in my neighborhood, a big explosion.
Oh.
Seriously. I hope the electricity's still on. I may need to go see if a neighbor's house blew up. Seriously.
Wow.
But anyway, so this takes time to dry.
Okay.
You could build a bench when it's green. That's okay too. You can use wet wood.
It just might start growing.
Right. Look out. Seriously, folks, I am very tempted. There's a huge crash boom. I just heard.
Okay.
And we heard it here too. So I'm going to leave now. Thank you very much.
Oak, it's great to see you again, Oak. I miss coming out to see you this summer.
Yes, thank you so much, George.
Thank you.
Sharing.
Yeah, I seriously, I need to go.
Yep.
Okay.
Check.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Everything's okay. Thank you.
Okay, take care, folks. If you got questions, send them to Flo, and I'll get them eventually. I can help in some way or another.
Okay.